one of the things that I love about bestseller publishing is also a weakness. You know how that is? Sometimes your strengths can also, be a weakness in a way, like because you focus on those things often to the exclusion of really cool things that you could be doing or that should be growth in your life. Here's what I mean by that for bestseller publishing. What I mean by that is we are a done for you company. I don't think I have to explain that to you. I think you know that already. And I decided to build a done for you company because I have seen the failure rate of people that sell just coaching programs or just training or just, even software alone. And so when we started bestseller publishing, I was like, I really want people to be bestsellers. I really want people to be on TV, radio, media, etc. And so we said, you know what? For the right person, we're just going to do that for them. We're just going to do all the elements of the launch that they could and should do themselves. We're going to get them reviews. We're going to do the advertising. We're going to do the press release. We're going to do it all, and we're going to make that book successful. We do that for media and PR. I'm a big believer in that. I still think that that is the best way that somebody that isn't an expert on those things can get it done, right? Like that's what I do. Write a check, let somebody else handle those things. Where's the weakness? Here's the weakness. The weakness is, as bestseller publishing is a done for you company, the only element of real coaching that somebody gets, which is lacking accountability, the only element of coaching that people get are on these live coaching calls. Now, I know that you don't join bestseller publishing for these live coaching calls. And, we're done for you company. Although I know some of you came on with Manny and that sort of thing. I want to move my camera over so I can see. But the weakness is too many of our authors will have a successful launch because we do it for them, get media and PR because we do it for them, have a book funnel that works because we can do it for them. And yet their businesses and their potential often isn't reached because there isn't this accountability and coaching that goes along with it. And so what I want to do over the next, who knows, maybe a few weeks, maybe it'll be 1 week on, 1 week off, and we'll cover various other topics. But what I want to do today is I want to give you an overview of what I talked to our live event folks about, called the Be Your Future Self Sprint, which is really an element that I think was missing in the past with bestseller publishing. But at least for the next 4 or 5 months is something that for a select group we're going to be working with and doing. And that is helping people to really set impossible goals, really grow their business, really scale, really get a return on investment, and really be held accountable to doing the things that they should be doing, you should be doing in your business. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, then maybe it will by the time that we're done today. So here's the deal. Most businesses, your business perhaps, often doesn't grow or doesn't become what you want it to become, not because it's too simple, but because it's too complex, meaning that you're pulled in too many different directions, shiny objects, right? Maybe if I buy this thing, or maybe if I implement this thing, then it's finally going to be the thing that takes me over the top, or that, gets me to where I want to go. And usually it's the exact opposite. Usually it's simplification, and doing the things that you should be doing, or maybe need to be told that you should be doing to get your business to the level that you want it to get. And it's the 80-20 principle. It's just the 20% of things that you should be focused on that get the 80% of results, but instead we tend to focus on the 80% that just gets very minimal to no results. So the Be Your Future Self kind of goal setting, and for us that are joining the sprint, is a series of 5 pieces. And I want to go over each of these pieces with you so that you can think about them for yourself, consider them deeply about how you can implement these things. And we've been talking about elements of this for the last few weeks, so it's not like this is new, okay? The 5 pieces are your frame, which we'll talk about, goal setting, your floor, which is what you are going to decide to do and not to do. That's the 80/20 idea, and maybe even greater than 80/20. Focus, which is simplification. Teleportation, which is finding the pathways and the partners and the people that can exponentially grow your business. And accountability, frame, floor, focus, teleportation, and accountability. Okay. So let me talk to you about each of these elements and how they might apply to your business, your goal setting, your next 4 months to do some things that maybe you think or thought previously were impossible. Okay. Number one, the frame. The frame is a very simple idea, and that is setting an impossible goal with an impossible timeline to reach that goal. Okay. In the past, and probably for those of you that are gray hairs like myself, the whole idea with goal setting was to set SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable. What's the A? Attainable. Well, it's kind of interesting because attainable goals actually are anathema of what we want because they set you off in 1,000 potential different directions. If we said, hey, your income today is, let's pick a number, $10,000 a month, and you want to raise your income from $10,000 a month by 10% between now and the end of the year. You want to go from $10,000 a month to $11,000 a month, which seems like an attainable goal. And hey, an extra $1,000 a month is nothing to sneeze at, right? That's pretty cool. Well, how many different ways are there for you to make an extra $1,000 a month? For crying out loud, you could drive Uber or DoorDash and make an extra $1,000 a month. You could. You could work online and do what some people do, and that's just get multiple jobs that they're working all online. Of course, that's dishonest, and I don't think you should do it. But the reality is there's lots of different ways that you can make an additional 10% goal or even 20% goal, right? That attainability of the goal doesn't give you the kind of specificity that you need to really reach for the stars. And so the idea is an impossible goal and an impossible timeline that forces you to completely think outside the box and change your current model in such a way that what you currently have looks nothing like what you're going to have. Okay. Now, you may not have the desire to scale your business 10x from what it is today, but you can do it. Your business can be 10x bigger than it is today, but not with a SMART goal, not with an attainable goal, and not with a goal that is stretched out 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road. Okay. So we start with a frame. Okay. What is the impossible goal ultimately? And typically we want to frame timeline that's 1 to 3 years. Okay. Everyone here, everyone that is listening to this can absolutely 10x your business in 1 to 3 years. In fact, I would say most everybody here can do it in 1 year. Now, you can't do it doing the same things you're doing today. Understandable. You can't do it with the same model, even perhaps, that you're working with today, but you can do it in 1 to 3 years. Okay. So we first start with a big North Star goal, a milestone, a massive milestone goal for us, this North Star that's 1 to 3 years out. But then what we want to do is we want to pull that back. And for those of us that are part of the sprint, we want to pull that back so that we have an impossible milestone goal on the way to our impossible 1 to 3 year goal. Why? Well, because we have 5 months left in the year, and we want to, as much as possible, take the next 5 months of 2025 and make like radical changes, radical transformation, radical growth on our way to our impossible goal, North Star goal. Okay. So we're talking about two goals. We're talking about this big North Star, 1 to 3 years, and maybe that's something like 10xing your business. And then we're talking about pulling it back and saying, what between now and the end of the year could I do that is seemingly impossible, but would put me on the way to getting my 1 to 3 year goal? Does that make sense? That's setting your frame. Okay. Now, part of setting your frame is also you need to figure out the one, ideally one, but one or two metrics that you're going to use to determine this. So what are metrics that you can use? Well, I gave you one, 10xing your business, 10xing your revenue, right? And by the way, this doesn't just have to be about your business. This could be about your physical well-being, your health, your fitness. This can be about relationships, whatever. So you can apply this to any of the what I call the five F's, right? Faith, family, fitness, finances, and what's the fifth one? I don't have it in front of me and I can't remember. So either way, right? You can apply it to any of those things. But it's easy to apply, obviously, to our finances or to our business income and wealth. You can also apply it to something else. So you need a metric, maybe one or two metrics that you'd be really proud of, say 10xing between now and the end of 2027 or now and the end of 2028. And between here and there, here is my impossible milestone goal, which I am going to reach by the end of 2025. Okay. Now, setting that seemingly ridiculous and impossible North Star goal and milestone goal will force you to do something else. And that's step two. Okay. That's what we want to do. We want this goal to force us to make some radical changes. Okay. Remember, I said about the SMART goal. The SMART goal doesn't force you to do anything. An attainable goal doesn't force you to do anything because there's 1,000 different directions you can go in. And when you have 1,000 different directions to go in, what do? Nothing, right? Nothing at all. So we want this ridiculous, impossible goal. That's the North Star. And this impossible goal and impossible timeline. That's the milestone goal between now and the end of the year to force us to make some changes. Okay, that's what we want. It needs to force us to make changes. We call that the floor or raising the floor. Okay, the floor is basically the minimum standard beneath you're not going to operate. I shared this example at the live event. I may have said it a time or two before, but when I was, geez, maybe still a teenager or not much beyond a teenager, I worked for my dad selling real estate. I got my real estate license at 18. And I remember one day, one of my dad's past clients called and said, "Hey, I have a condo investment property that I want to list with your company." It was a Century 21 company that my dad owned. And he, of course, talked to my dad. He was one of my dad's past clients. And after the call, my dad came to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to give this listing to one of the realtors in the office unless you want this listing." And it was a small listing. At that time, we're talking about the 80s. So, yeah, I'm dating myself, but you guys already know I'm old. So it's the 80s. And so a condo in South Florida was like $25,000 and it was going to be listed for 25 grand. And, 3% commission's less than $1,000, but $1,000 is $1,000. At that time, $1,000 was like $10,000, right? Especially for a 19-year-old kid. And I was like, yeah, of course I want it, Dad. And why wouldn't you take it? It's like free money. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You can just put the thing on the MLS and it's going to sell. And my dad said, "I don't sell any properties below this amount." I don't remember what the amount was. And again, I was like, why? I mean, it's given to you. It's coming to you. He said, "No, I don't. That is my floor." Now, I don't remember if he used that language, but that was his standard. And that standard, even though it wouldn't require much focus from him at all or much time, it was a standard at which he did not go below. This was something that the Mike Ferry organization taught. If you guys know who Mike Ferry is, Matthew Ferry is a former client of BSP. We did his book launch, but these are Mike Ferry is longtime real estate coach, very, very successful and fantastic. And his son Tom Ferry now is a big time real estate coach, and Matthew now focuses more on executive coaching. The point is, when you raise the floor, even if someone is trying to hand you opportunity, you say no. I don't do that, right? Someone comes to us and says, Rob, we want to write a fiction book. We need help. We need a ghostwriter that can do fiction. Here's a bunch of money. We don't do fiction. We don't ghostwrite fiction. Now, we'll launch a fiction book. We'll help with media and PR, but we don't have the ghostwriters to write fiction. That is our floor, right? There are other people that can do it better than us. That is not something that we do. So you have to, when you set this impossible goal, it all of a sudden changes how you determine you're going to use your time. Everything below the floor, a low margin client, a product that you can make a little money on, but it's distracting to you. Any task, these things need to be killed, they need to be delegated, or they need to be priced 10 times higher so that they're above the floor. And if you don't do it that way, then guess what? You're not going to reach your impossible goal, because that frame now changes what your standard is and what your floor is. Okay. And that's something that we're going to be doing together. As we set in our Be Your Future Self sprint, and this is something you should do on your own. But as we set, okay, here's what my frame is going to be. Here's my North Star goal, and here's my milestone goal. And great. Okay, so to get there, we're going to have to do something completely different. So what are you getting rid of that won't get you there? Because you're doing things right now that won't get you there. Okay. So you're going to have to determine what the floor is for you so that you are not going to operate beneath that thing. Okay. After we determine what the floor is, now we want to sharpen our focus. Okay. Sharpening our focus is like there's more than likely a single pathway, maybe one or two at the most pathways that will deliver you to your impossible goal. When you raise the floor and you say, well, I'm not going to do any of this stuff anymore, you now have opportunity and time to double down on the few activities that will get you to that massive goal. There's a story in I think it's the Be Your Future Self book. It might be in the Science of Scaling, of a photographer who, in various coaching that she had gotten, had all of these kind of products that she would do. And she was really an artist more than a photographer. And so she wanted to develop this kind of mixed media art where it would be photography and it would be painting and it would be, kind of a bespoke process that her clients would work with her on. And so she knew, though, that was going to be something she would have to price a lot higher. Her average sale would have to go up, pretty significantly for this mixed media kind of artwork or portrait. And so she raised her price to a certain level, which was great. But when they started really looking at, okay, what is your real big impossible goal as it relates to this? She said, well, that is the thing that I love doing the most. And all these other things, doing the wedding photography and doing the various, kind of children photography and that kind of thing, those are really much lower margin and much busier work. I would rather be focused on the creative work. But the only way to do that, because she had all of these various product lines, was to raise the price significantly of this mixed media art or portrait that she was doing and eliminate all the other stuff so that she could focus her attention on that one thing. When she did that and got rid of all of the other busy work, which, yes, is scary to do because that was part of what the income of the company was. But when she did that, she was able to reach her 10x revenue goal in record time because she raised the mixed and do the thing that she absolutely loved doing because she raised that creativity and mixed media portrait all the way up to $15,000 in just a matter of weeks. People saw her as the expert, and because she was able to give her time and attention to that thing, she was able to scale that thing and hit her goal. So if you could only keep one thing that you're doing right now, one offer that you make in your business, one channel where you get the most people that are interested, what could you actually do? What would be the one thing if you just focus? This is the thing that if I could just do this, that you could scale and reach your impossible goal. That's what it means to focus. And that's something that you have to do. And that's something that those of us in the Be Your Future Self sprint are going to be doing together, brainstorming and figuring that thing out. Okay. So that's step three. We take the frame, we figure out the floor, and now what's the focus activity? It's usually one thing. It might only be one or two paths that we are going to go down to actually get the goal that we want to achieve. Okay, that's step three. Step four, and maybe it's not a step as much as a way to think about it, is this idea of teleportation. It's not something that I've talked to the BSP community about, but it was something that we talked a good deal about at the live event. And the idea of teleportation, which I like that framework because I'm a science fiction person. I love Star Trek and love all of that. And the teleportation idea is this. There right now is a strategic partner for you, a platform, maybe even an acquisition, depending on where you are in your business, that can take you from where you are right now and like teleport you 2 or 3 years into the future immediately, right? I was having a conversation with Perry Marshall the other day, who I'm in his AMN coaching program, and we were talking about my software manuscriptor, and he said, "Hey, mind if I just riff a little bit?" And I said, "No, I don't mind at all. You know, let's go. What you got to say? You know, I'm ready to take some notes and answer some questions." He said, "Let me ask you this: What if?" What if, like tomorrow, John Maxwell, who, coaches tens of thousands of people and is in many ways kind of a worldwide leadership expert and even celebrity, what if tomorrow John said, "Hey, I want to promote your software and your services to every single one of my Maxwell certified coaches. And I want to promote it at every single event that we do. And I want to promote it to my entire social media marketing marketplace, as well as my email list, et cetera." What would that do to your business? And I said, "Oh my gosh, I mean, I don't know. I mean, relative to how I'm growing Manny now, which is via, joint venture workshops that I do every week, I mean, that would be like 3 years of joint venture workshops that I'm doing overnight." He said, "Exactly." That is something that Ben Hardy talks about. He calls it a super who. And if you've ever read his stuff, he talks about who, not how. He wrote that book with Dan Sullivan, really cool book. The idea is that instead of you trying to figure out how to do everything, you need a who to help you that already knows how to do that, right? That's in a lot of ways why my company gets hired in the first place, right? Because we know how to do the thing that you want to do around your book and your book launch and your publishing and your media and all of that stuff. Well, imagine a super who now, right? That could be a strategic partner of yours. That could be maybe your business being integrated into their business. Or maybe it's something that you could acquire or be acquired to like fast forward your growth from the track it's on right now, which might take forever, and maybe you'd never get to where you want to get to, but now you could do it in a period of 12 to 18 months or 2 years or 3 years. That is the idea of teleportation. Dr. Hardy shares about this woman in the credit repair space. Alicia Alt is her name. And she had a credit repair software. She had been in the credit repair space for 20 years. She had this credit repair software that she had, I don't know, like 20 clients for. And she made her impossible goal, and she said, "I want to get it to 100 clients." And there was discussion about it. And is going from 20 clients to 100 really an impossible goal? No, but that is 5Xing right? But you can kind of see a pathway from 20 to 100, right? It's kind of doing more of what you're currently doing. And she realized, that's not really an impossible goal. So she decided that she would make the impossible goal to get to 1,000 clients between that point and the end of the year, which is actually around this same kind of time frame. And what she ended up doing was realizing, okay, I can't talk to enough people one on one to get from 20 clients to 1,000 clients between the end of the year. So, what do I need to do? Well, who's serving my clients right now? Who has 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 of my clients right now? Right? What credit repair companies? What about the actual credit bureaus themselves, et cetera? And believe it or not, in a period of just 2 months, she went from just having 20 people working with the software to over 8,000 people because she was able to partner with one of the largest credit repair companies in the country because she reduced all of the things below her floor and just focused on her teleportation path. This is something that you could do as well. You just have to figure out what that teleportation path could be. I gave you some ways to think about it. All right, number 5, and finally, is something that I think most of us that are achievers actually love and embrace, but not all of us do, and that is accountability. Accountability. I love accountability. There are times I don't love it, but I love it from the standpoint of the type of progress that I can actually make when I know that I am being accountable to both myself and to somebody else for the things that I said I would do. And so there are a couple of different types of accountability. I actually started doing this with my wife just this week. And one of the things that I really love, and I read about it in The Gap and the Gain, is, when you set this massive future goal, and I've shared about this, but when you set this massive future goal, you can feel like, oh, I'm so far behind, and how am I ever going to get there? And of course, I shared about how to deal with that. You want to measure, basically your progress. You want to measure from the past to where you're at today, rather than from today to where you want to be, right? Because you're always going to feel this big gap if you're measuring against, this moving goalpost, this horizon that you're never going to reach. And so, one of the things that my wife and I are doing is, on a daily basis, we are listing 3 wins from our day, and we do this in the morning together. This is probably better to be done in the evening or the afternoon, but we do it in the morning together because we're working on it like the day before on our own, and then we come together. So we list 3 wins, like gains for the day. That's from the previous day, and then we talk about one gap, one thing that we missed, one thing where there's we were here. We hope to get this accomplished. We didn't get that accomplished. But the gap, we want to know, what did we learn from that gap? What was the positive that we can pull from it? And then we talk about tomorrow's like big domino that we want to fall. Now, when I say tomorrow, I actually mean today, because remember, this is something that we're thinking about in the evening, but we're doing in the morning. So I hope that I'm not making it more confusing, because I'm sharing with you what I'm doing with my wife, but really this is something you should do with yourself in the evening. And that is, break out a piece of paper and write down, okay, these were my 3 big wins for today. And your 3 big wins could be simple, right? I got my workout in, right? And, I made 10 calls like I said I was going to make. Whatever it is, your 3 wins for the day, your 1 lesson, which is where you maybe didn't get the win, but you learned something from it. And then your big action, your big domino that you're going to focus on for tomorrow, okay? When you do that on a daily basis, you are going to see progress. This is something that we're going to be doing in our Future Self Sprint together, where we're actually going to be listing out our daily gains. And then we're going to have like a weekly checkup on those things. because we want to hold ourselves accountable, yes, but it's also really helpful to have somebody else hold you accountable and encourage you and tell you you're doing a great job and hey, get back up again and you can do this, right? I hope you have somebody like that in your life. You need somebody like that in your life, both to help you and challenge you, but also to be there to pick you up and encourage you to keep going when maybe you feel like you haven't made the type of progress that you really want to make. So you should install some type of accountability in this process. And that's something that we're going to be doing in the Be Your Future Self sprint. So as a kind of final wrap it up, we have the frame, which is your impossible goal, impossible time frame. For us, my suggestion and what we're doing in the Be Your Future Self sprint is we have the milestone, I mean the North Star, the big North Star goal, 1 to 3 years, and then we have the milestone goal, what we're going to have accomplished by the end of 2025. That's the frame, right? Then we have the floor. Let's cut out the noise, right? Let's cut out all the stuff that, okay, this is below the floor. We're not going to focus on this anymore. We're not going to chase these shiny objects anymore. We are going to fly. We are going to focus instead on our new frame. Okay. Point number 3, focus. Okay, what's the 20%? What's the one path that is most important? All right, instead of all of these others, maybe 1 or 2 paths. Then we want to think through, okay, let's get crazy. What could teleport us 6 months in advance? What could teleport us a year forward, 3 years forward? What could do that? What strategic partner, right? What new platform, what integration could we do that could absolutely teleport our progress? And then, of course, last but not least, accountability. Document your gains daily. Commit every single day to a new domino that you want to fall the next day that you're going to be working on, and then express that on a weekly basis to the people that you have in your life, to the people that you want to be held accountable to. Thanks, guys. You're awesome. Have a great day. Thank you for your trust in me and BSP, and talk to you soon. Bye.